This is my first story here and I hope it makes sense. It will probably be a bit rambly but I'll do my best to cover the basics and not rant too much. It's also perhaps worth disclosing that as a child I used to sleepwalk and still now I experience sleep paralysis on a regular basis, although I don't know how much the latter has to do with any paranormal activity. Growing up, I've experienced a few ghostly phenomenon from time to time. For example, I used to see the shadow of what I believed to be a man sitting at the foot of the bed whenever I stayed at my nan and granddad's. This happening every night I stayed there without fail. And I did mention it to my granddad once but I don't think he ever believed me. As this was only a yearly visit because they lived so far away, I never thought much of it, although as a child it was a bit unsettling. I've also done a few ghost hunts/tours/walks, many times of which I've experienced something, mostly mild like something brushing my back, hands but no one being near me or a strange coldness. But at the same time much of this could be explained by me looking for something or just heightened senses of the group playing off one another. I lived with my mother until I was 18, and in that time witnessed a few things. I was a very timid child and shared a bed with my mum up until I was about 14-15. My mum would always come to bed around 11ish, and not long after she did, we would both hear footsteps coming up the stairs. It sounded like they would pause on the landing, there would be a few more as if they were turning to come up towards the bedrooms and then that was it. They would end as quickly as they had started. This happened a few times, and always when my mum had come to bed. She heard them too, but I don't remember it happening much after I started to sleep on my own. In addition to that, I still swear to this day I seen an old woman sitting in the living room when I passed by the door once. That was the only time I ever seen anything in the house, but there were noises here and there that sometimes freaked me out. The house was about 30-40 years old, and we were the first family to live in it. So fast forward to 8 years. I'm 26 now, and living on my own with my boyfriend and my dog in a flat that used to be an old mill. Nothing particularly creepy had happened until now, but the things that are happening seem to be getting steadily more attention-seeking. Maybe? The starting point was one night, around 4 a.m., my partner's laptop began playing music. I have an open-plan living room, kitchen, and it was sitting on the island that separates the two rooms. It wasn't connected to any mains, and my boyfriend swears he turned it off. We jumped up and turned it off at the time, obviously, and went back to sleep, not thinking too much about it because that on its own is fairly explainable. The second thing to happen was when my boyfriend went away for the weekend. It was around 9 p.m. I was sitting in my bed, and I heard a bang from elsewhere in the house. My dog went mental at this, and she normally doesn't react to noise, so I went to investigate in case something had fallen over. Upon finding nothing, I went back to my room, only to find all the lights and the TV off. I definitely didn't do this and of course, being on my own, I was pretty scared. Nothing happened for a few weeks after that, aside from things being in places I don't remember moving them to, but that could have been my partner's doing, and hearing some bangs and knocks that had no reason behind them. The third thing, and probably the creepiest, was actually seeing the movement. If I am lying in bed, I can see directly into the bathroom if both doors are open. There is a wall mirror above the toilet, sink, and my boyfriend and I both witnessed a figure moving past the mirror and out into the hallway, and down as if going towards the living room. I shut the bedroom door at that point and since then haven't seen anything. The last thing to happen was 2 days ago. I dry my clothes in my spare room, which is next to the living room, mostly because it's the only space where a clothesline won't get in the way. I walked past to go to get a drink and all the clothes that were drying were on the floor, as well as the clothesline. I have a tiny dog who probably isn't capable of pulling the whole clothesline down without me hearing, but again, I feel like it's worth trying to explain these things organically rather than assuming straight away there's some sort of presence. As well as this, when I walked into the living room, my spice rack was empty and all of the herbs normally in them were on the floor. Again, I didn't hear any of this happen. I'm not sure if anything that has happened in my past is directly linked, but I wanted to mention it in case there's any explanations that those might tie into. Thanks to anyone that's read and will offer advice, it's all appreciated.